Hey, how's it going? My name is Gonzalo, and I go by Lobito's Boxing Breakdowns. This is my Cobra bag. This Cobra bag here is elite. I constructed a very solid base that complements those parts that I purchased through this company called Qlis that specializes in Cobra bags. But a Cobra bag is not really going to work good if you don't have a solid base. And a lot of times people are paying for a base that gets shipped over the mail that obviously is not as heavy as this one, right? Because it would cost a lot of money to mail you something that weighs 300 pounds. They're paying a lot of money for that. But at the same time, the quality of that material is real cheap, right? Because obviously it doesn't weigh as much. Then they're telling you, if you got weights in your house, we're going to sell you these empty sandbags. You fill them, and that's how you're supposed to keep your Cobra bag stable. But in reality, you can do better than that. But when people end up paying the money, like these 4 components, that leather ball, this cup, with that piece that is part of it, it's like this extension made out of plastic that's got like these 4 little holes that you can raise and lower the Cobra bag, which is a cool thing, right? This plastic goes inside this casing. There's an inflatable bladder. Then you got the split bar and the spring. Those parts were $200. So why are people paying $500 if you can get the top part from the spring upward for $200? Comparatively speaking, because different companies charge different prices. All these parts are like quite high quality, right? Nice piece of plastic with that extender. Quality leather ball, aluminum clip bar, heavy duty spring with these pieces that you can also adjust up or down. And had a little extra piece, I cut it to take some weight off. You don't have to do it. Did it at the machine shop, right? Why are they paying $500? Because they're selling you the space, and people think, well, if I'm paying that money for this space and I'm having to load it with weights, that's as good as it gets, because obviously it costs money. So they're settling, okay, this is what I got, this is what it's meant to be, but really not. You can go ahead and make the improvements for less money that the amount of money you're paying for these people to ship you these low quality products. For example, like this thin piece of metal plate of low tensile tin strength, and they'll tell you, okay, put weights on top of that, then fill these sandbags. But then what do you get? Something that's rattling and shaking and clanking all over the place. You know, it could even damage your floors. Some have like these water jugs for a base that you put the water inside, but sometimes these dudes that are demonstrating some of these videos that I see on YouTube have it to where after hitting it a few times, water's leaking all over the place. And if you have like a floor like mine, imagine throwing a hook. You'll be falling face first. And that's not good. Also, like if you're having to interrupt your workout sessions to rearrange the sandbags, clean up the water, you're going to spend a little bit of time doing a base like this, but once you construct it and put it together, it's going to last you forever. That's also something positive. It's like you're not working 2 or 3 times as hard. You work once, you do it good. You could even hire some help. And I'm going to tell you how you can do this, basically with some parts that you can purchase at a scrapyard and a little cement. And then you can get yourself some Cobra bag parts through any company that you do your research on. You can go ahead and get a spring and a ball. This one's leather. Like I said, all this cost me like $200, including the shipping over here to the Philippines. But like the base, what I did, once I got the spring, took it to the machine shop and bored this, where they peeled the top layer of metal and smooth to the touch to the diameter of this cup link on the bottom part that connects to this rebar. Had it to like where they sheared it off, and it fits onto the spring. This little piece that connects to this part of the spring, it fits onto here like a sleeve. So put it on the turning machine, right? And basically peel this off exactly where it fits perfect. finally put it on the drill press and did a hole. Right, so this got two little notches, two little holes where you can insert a bolt. Went to the bolt center. I think that's 6 millimeter, and drove that bolt through the connector. And this is secure, has no play, and it's gonna last you forever. Because if there's any weak point in your Cobra bag, it's gonna start wearing down at that part. All that energy will build up, and if there's a little bit of play like Ryan Garcia's was, Henry Garcia's having to readjust that knob. It's like a saddle clamp. Just imagine like an outside patio umbrella. It's got like this little knob that you turn that's threaded. You see that he's constantly going on there and secure and turning it to tighten up the bag, because obviously, for example, that's worth $500. That's not like of the best quality. So something like this is never gonna give, because obviously when this builds momentum and the energy's building up, it's gonna find the weakest link where it's gonna try, where that energy's gonna try to escape, and it's gonna start breaking down and breaking up at those points. But when you got something like this, sheared off the rebar, connected it to the spring, grabbed a piece of pipe, drove it down the center. I got flywheels at the junk shop, but you can get two weights because they got a hole in the center just like a flywheel. Stacked the bigger weight on top of a smaller weight, welded the bottom weight to the slightly smaller weight that sits on top of the bigger weight. Complete weld. You don't have to do that. I did. You could do a points weld. And then on top of the weight that's the biggest, I got something like this. Set this on top. Remember, you put a piece of pipe down the center of the weights, because you know weights got holes for, like, when you lift, you know, obviously you're gonna stick the weight through a bar, you know. So those weights, you stick a piece of pipe that sits perfectly on the inside of the diameter of the weight's center mass, and once it's all flush to the bottom and it fits perfect like a sleeve as well, you can find a piece of pipe that fits down the weights exactly. You can also weld, spot weld or full weld, that piece of galvanized pipe like the one I'm showing you here down the middle. Once everything's flushed down the middle, you got that bigger weight, you rest the bucket on top, something like this on top of that. You cut the top of this and you fill that with cement. And then now you got a very, very heavy base. Once that cement dries, you take the bucket off, you peel that casing off. Then you can go ahead and grab some pieces of metal, bend them, weld them to the bottom weight on the outside perimeter, and drill a hole and attach them to a piece of wood. And I grabbed one of my baby's mats, you know, and I put the piece of wood that works as a platform for the base on top of the mat, and that allows me to slide it because it's real heavy, like Thor's hammer. Imagine trying to buy something that heavy. It's, you know, it would cost a lot of money, so people are, you know, that's why they don't got it like that, because these companies, but my problem is with that, these companies are selling you these low quality parts, and I'm not talking about the spring, from everything from the spring on higher. They're selling you a base for a lot of money, and people are thinking, well, I'm paying all this money, so this is as good as it gets. And obviously, if I paid that money, why should I fix it? But in reality, you should, because it affects the performance of the workout. And that's basically it. Let me show you this ball leather cup that goes on the inside that's tethered to the inside. You got an inflatable bladder. This is like a shoelace. Put some tape, just like a shoe when you're moving, it tends to get loose. So this will help secure the bladder to the cup. This aluminum clip bar. This could actually be like high enough for a person that's around 6'5", because you can raise this another level. And before you could, but I cut the little piece because you could already extend it so many levels up that for a person that's 5'9" and a quarter like me, there's no need for that. So that thing moves. You're supposed to have the spring at the right height. Too lower, that bag becomes too predictable on the stem. That stem should be maybe around 9 to 12 inches, ideally. And if it's too short, I mean, you're supposed to have a Cobra bag, you know, where it can move back and forth. It can recoil on the spring and give you that kind of effect that it's also attacking, and that's why they call it a Cobra bag. That you got to stay on your P's and Q's defensively as you also land combinations. You know, and once that bag gets moving, hey, it's only really supposed to move at the spring, because anywhere else it's gonna compromise your workout, man. Because once it gains momentum, good luck landing meaningful combinations, because everything is that bag will respond based on how you connect it. So if you connect it and it's moving in a different place aside from where it's intended to, it's not gonna give you that feedback that you're looking for when you're landing these sustained combinations and you got this rhythm and flow going. Yeah, obviously it's gonna interrupt the sequence of like the movement. So that's not good, and that's why you need a heavy base like the one I got. Once you know the movement picks up and you got any type of vibration, it kills it over here, because this is so heavy that movement goes dead, inert. So I paid $200 for the Cobra bag parts, the bag, the cup, the click bar, and the spring. I bought them from the company Q-List. They specialize in Cobra bags. And this was plus shipping from Canada to the Philippines. And that base, what cost me money were the plates. Okay, I'm gonna mention that once again, plus all the steel heavy duty parts. It was about $80 for the weight of the metal. So about $280 compared to $500. Didn't pay $500 for like these quote unquote elite Cobra bags. And I made that base for $80 because what was expensive for me, the flywheels, because you pay by the kilo here in the Philippines. So in the United States, you're gonna pay by the pound, and if you got weights, you can use those. If not, you can purchase, but obviously you're paying for the worth of the weights and the metal, so that's gonna cost you a little bit of money. But $80, some cement, a piece of plywood, and a steel piece of rebar, and a galvanized pipe. Hey, never mind the cost. Well, yeah, obviously it's way cheaper than what you will pay for this rinky-dinky base. You also got these water jugs, right? I don't know if I mentioned that. You fill them with water. Sometimes they're demonstrating on the TV and it's leaking all over the place. I mean, the YouTube. And this is like the very first time that you see these videos that people try to show you like these Cobra bags. Imagine trying to throw a hook. You'd be falling face first if you're like slipping on some water. And they're not gonna last you. They're not gonna last you. They're already breaking up, you know, when they're showing you for the very first time. This thing will last you forever. If anything, you're gonna have to replace that ball, I don't know, after maybe a year, maybe longer, if you're constantly hitting it. But very importantly, it's gonna give you the response. Like I said, it's gonna move only where it needs to, and that's at the spring, right? So this is my Cobra bag. You can adjust it up or down. And this is Gonzalo. I go by Lobito's Pots and Breakdowns. Hit the like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. Peace. Mira ito. Papi, mira.